So in this video we're going to be looking at how to get a message from a specific user and how to delete messages from our user. So let's create the delete function first, since that's going to be simple here. We'll just copy the get message function and we'll change this to delete message, and we'll still take the ID here, but we'll change this return to delete, and here we don't want this public view returns. So this is just a basic function, it doesn't return anything, and then it uses this delete keyword with the message array or the message mapping, and it uses message.sender as the address key and then ID to get the string of the message we want to delete. Okay, so next we'll create the function to get a message from a specific user. So we'll call this function get user message, and here we'll take two parameters. One will be the ID and the other will be the address of the user we want to get the message from. So we'll say address user USR, and then we'll add a comma, and for a second argument we'll take the uint 256 of ID. So then we'll just do the public view returns, and what it will be returning is a string of memory, so the same as this get function. The only difference is we're taking in an address here, and we add in our curly braces, and this time we want to do the same return, but instead of message.sender here we want to do user. So if we save this and deploy and run our contract, we should see that now if we store a message, we can get the message. So it will be at ID 0 on our account, and if we try to do that from a different account, we should still see that there's no ID 0 for them, so we'll get a revert here. But if we now use the get user message function, so let's switch back to the other account so we can copy it, and we switch back again. So if we paste in the address of the user that does have a message and we put the ID in here and call this, we should get the message. And remember, we're calling this from a different address, so this is using the function where we get the message from a different user. And finally, if we wanted to delete a message here, we switch back to the main account again, and we'll use the delete message function. So the ID will be 0, which is the one we just stored, and you should get a green check mark here. And now if we try to get that message again, it should return an empty string. So this delete function here, it doesn't completely remove the index from our mapping. What it does is it sort of makes it a blank value. So there still is a 0th index there right now, it just has no value associated with it, or it's an empty string basically. And that's how you get messages from other users and delete messages that's stored in a mapping. So next I'll just show you how to deploy this contract to an actual blockchain. So to do this we need to sign into our MetaMask, and you need to make sure that you're on the account that you want to use. And up here under environment we want to choose injected provider. So you should see injected provider MetaMask, and you should get the network ID here. So just make sure you're on the right network. I'm on the Polygon network, and if we click deploy now, you should get a pop-up up here to confirm a transaction. So you can see that on the Polygon network the fee is very cheap, and I can just confirm this, and once it goes through we should have deployed our contract on the actual blockchain. So we'll just wait for this, and it just went through. So now we can click on that transaction that just confirmed, and we can click on view on Block Explorer. And here we can see this is the transaction that we used to create the contract, and this is the actual contract, and you can see that it has this contract icon here. So if we click on that, we'll go to the contract address, and under the contract tab here we can see that it needs to verify and publish. So to do this, we could just copy all the code we have here and do it manually here, but a quicker way to do it is using the plugin I showed you earlier. So the plugin is called contract verification, and if you don't have it, you can just get it from this plugin manager down here. So to do this, you just select the contract name, and it's going to pick from one of the contracts that's opened here. So we want the messenger contract. These other two contracts here are the stuff we're importing, but for us we just want to verify the messenger contract. And now it wants the contract address, so we copy it from the block explorer and we paste it in here, and now we should see this verify button here, so we click on that and it should say verification submitted successfully. Now this message doesn't necessarily mean that the verification was accepted, it's just sent to the block explorer. So if we come back here and refresh, hopefully we should see that it is verified, and it is. So now if we go, we'll see there's two new tabs here, read contract and write contract, and these are actually the functions that we created. So you can see get message, we can now access that from the blockchain, and write functions, we should see that we can delete messages, store messages, and the ownership stuff. So if you remember what I was saying before, there's write functions where we're modifying data on the blockchain. So store message, we're modifying the blockchain to store some information, and delete, we're deleting something from the blockchain. These go under write contracts because they're going to use gas since they're modifying the blockchain. But if we go to the read tab here, the get message is just getting the message back from the blockchain, it's not modifying anything. So if we run that function, it won't even use any gas, we don't even need to connect our wallet to run that function. But for the write functions, we do need to connect our wallet, and it will use gas to store a message, for example. So let's just try that. So if we store a message, let's just store my name, Theo. We should get a pop-up here with the gas price, so we'll just confirm that. And now we need to wait for the transaction to confirm. So now that the transaction is confirmed, we can go to the read section here and use the get message function to see the message we just stored. However, there is actually an error we're going to get if we try and use this get message function, and that's just to do with this block explorer itself. So when it sends these read functions, it doesn't necessarily need a wallet to be connected, so it doesn't send it with the correct address and stuff. So we'll just use this get user message function that we created, and we'll copy our wallet address. So if we paste that in and get the message with the ID of 0, we should get the string we just stored. So it's better to use the get user message function if you're planning to use it directly from the block explorer, but usually you'd make like a website or a dApp or something, and that would be able to use this get message function correctly. But if you're using it directly from the explorer, you're gonna get errors if you just use this get message function. So in the next video, we'll actually create the ERC20 token now that we've covered everything that was inside of our course. So we've looked at variables and data structures, we've looked at functions, read and write, and modifiers, and we've looked at deploying and interacting with smart contracts. We've just done that now. So in the next video, we'll create our very own ERC20 compliant token.